Hello class, this week we're going to be on the topic of Earth Day. Earth Day is about reducing, reusing, and recycling. We reduce the use of things that are going to be bad for the earth. One thing that you guys know about every day is cars. When there's a lot of cars driving, what it creates is a smog. One way to fix that is to cycle. You can be on your bicycle, you can skateboard, or you can walk. That is one way to help our environment. The other ones we have reduce, reuse, using things over and over again in different kind of ways. What my grandma used to say is one man's trash is another man's treasure, which means you may think something is trash, but the person next to you may say, I can use that to build a huge house. So what you need to do is you need to look at things that you have around you and think, how can I use that in a different way? So let's say you have a marker and you're like, oh, my marker's all dried up. How can I reuse this? You can always reuse it by doing art with it. You can glue a whole bunch together and you can make different art pieces. You could also use it to count for counting tools. And maybe somebody else will be able to use it. They'll be able to take that or put the ink back in. So we have reduce, reuse, and recycle. When you recycle something, you take it, you end up breaking it down, you mold it into something new, and you use it in a different way. Or you can use it in a similar way, but still it is helping out so we're not just throwing away a whole bunch of trash and putting it in a landfill. What you're doing is you're recycling your cans and your papers and all of that stuff so that it can go to a big facility or a big building. And what they end up doing is they break it down and they create new things from it. So today we're going to do recycle. We're going to do recycle mostly because that's one thing I hear in my house we do every single day. We recycled some of our plants recently. We had some plants that we had in the back. And they were in these little containers. Well, we used those containers and we recycled them. Instead of throwing them away, we broke them down, we glued some of them together, and we made a big planter box out of them. So it helped out. So we were able to plant a whole bunch of new seeds in them instead of having to go and buy a brand new one. All right, so we're going to do recycle. What are some things you can recycle? Let's think. What can you recycle? One thing you can recycle that people use a lot of are soda cans or glass. Usually it's aluminum. Aluminum cans are the ones that you open, it goes, those are the aluminum cans. So we're going to put, let's see, soda cans. O-D-A and K-A-N-S. Cans. If you notice, I put the S at the end because am I just talking about one soda can or am I talking about more than one? I am talking about more than one. So I need to put the S at the end. Now we have soda cans, and another awesome thing that you can use, that you can recycle, is paper. Anything that's paper. That is a great thing to recycle. I can recycle paper. You won't be able to actually go to the store or go to a recycling place and give them a whole bunch of paper. What you end up doing is you put it in the trash, you separate it out, and they end up taking it to a bigger building, which ends up breaking it down, making it into small, tiny pieces, almost like a dust. And then they can mold it into new things like paper wrappings, Christmas wrappings. You can do all sorts of papers. They make canvases. Canvases are what artists use to do their pictures. So we have paper. Now what can we make out of these? We've got to think, what are some things we can make? If we recycle cans, can we use them again? And how can we use them again? What can you make from cans? One thing that you can make from cans, is you can make furniture, okay? Furniture is a wonderful, wonderful thing that you can make. Furniture you can use when you are I'm trying to find my pen at the bottom. It just fell. Okay. Furniture, you can, let's see, just let me get it. Just a minute. Okay. So, the top. Okay. So, furniture you sit on, you can lay on furniture, you can put a whole bunch of stuff on furniture, but furniture is a good one. Another thing that you can make from soda cans is parts, like parts to watches. You can make parts to glasses. If you look at the glasses, they've got little bolts in them on the inside here. You can use those bolts. They can remake a whole bunch of stuff. You make jewelry. Jewelry is a really fun one. Jewelry. So I'm going to put over here, you can make, let's see. Can you make tools? You can. You can make tools out of recycled cans. The thing is what they end up doing is the process is different so that they make sure that it's nice and hard. You can make tools, but I'm going to actually put down jewelry, okay? Jewelry is one thing you can make out of the soda cans. Now the other thing, let's look at the paper. What can you recycle and use out of paper? What can you use? Or what can you make? Let's think. We talked about it before. You can make wrappings, extra wrapping paper. You can make art supplies. So we can put art supplies. Art supplies meaning they can make huge canvases. You can make a larger paper. The paper that we use at school, you know how we have the big colored paper? A lot of that is from recycled paper, which means that a company took it in, made it into that tiny, like almost dust. Then they were able to basically glue it together, mold it back together to make paper so that one paper turned into a different paper. And then they're able to dye it so that we can use it over and over again in different ways instead of just putting it on the ground and letting it, break down itself. What we're doing is we're using it again and again and again, which is great for the earth. Now what we're doing is, how could we use these things? How can you use jewelry? How can you could wear jewelry, okay? And art supplies? Where do you use art supplies? Where did we use art supplies? And where are you guys using art supplies now? We used art supplies in our classroom. That's right. You guys are using yours in your classroom that you have at home right now. Okay, so we're going to put classroom. All right, so we have our circle map done. Now we're going to move it over to our tree map. Oop, what did I forget up there? What letter am I missing at the end of recycle? Let's look here. Recycle. I'm missing that silent E at the end. That mommy E that's saying shh. Okay, recycle. Now, we're going to go over. We've got, you can recycle. Let's look at our different things you can recycle. Soda cans and paper. I'm going to use paper. That's the one we're going to use today. So I'm going to put paper over here. We can make art supplies or just art. How about we just put art? And you can use those art. You can make the art in the where? The classroom. We could, if you wanted to, you could put supplies down here. Now we have our tree map. Our tree map is what we're going to use to make our sentences. Our sentences are going to be a lot easier to write. We're not going to add any extra like verbs and all that kind of stuff just to make it even more crazy. Not crazy, but a little more colorful. We're not going to do that today. We're going to make simple sentences. At the beginning of each sentence, what do I need? I do need a capital. And between each word, what do I need? Finger spaces, make sure you always have your finger spaces. And at the end, you need to make sure that you put the period. Now we're going to practice our sentences first before we do any of our writing. It's always good to practice, practice, practice. Because if you practice, you won't need that paper in front of you. You'll be able to write down the sentences very quickly, okay? So the first one, we can, so we, meaning everybody, can recycle paper. Okay, we can recycle paper. Then, after we recycle it, what do? Then we then that will make art supplies that we can use in the classroom. I didn't use recycle each time because we don't need to each time. We said it on the first sentence, which was important so that the reader knew exactly what we were talking about, okay? So we're going to start with our marker. You guys could actually pause the video if you want, and you can practice your sentences 3 more times because then it'll sink in. Sink, 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 sink. Okay, ready? Let's do our sentences. The first one, we need our capital W. Now, I don't have a pencil, but I'm going to use my black. I'm going to use my finger space, can, finger space, recycle, finger space, paper. But I'm missing something at the end. You are correct. I am missing our period. Normally, when I'm doing my writing, I want to make sure I have my yellow to show my finger spaces. So if you're at home and you're doing your writing with whoever you're doing your writing with, make sure that you put your yellow in the middle so that you're showing you put your finger space there. So we did our first sentence. Now we're going to go to our second one. So we had, we can recycle paper. This will make art supplies. Did I use this last time? I don't know if I did or not. I can't remember, but we're going to go with it, okay? So, this will make art. Now, I don't have enough room for supplies. Remember, you're not squeezing in words in a tiny little space. If you don't have enough room for it, make sure you go down to the next line. This will make art supplies. Now, I'm going to put a little period at the end. So we have the make art supplies. We already know we're talking about recycling because that was our first sentence. I'm going to go to my last one. We're going to use we again. We can use it in the classroom. Use what? Use the art supplies. We can recycle paper. This can make art supplies. That we can use in the classroom. That's a better way to put it, okay? So we're going to put the T. We're going to use that. That we can use in the classroom. So the TH makes a V sound. At, finger space, we use in the classroom. Now I put a black, sorry, I dropped my lid. Okay, so I did put a black at the end, and I don't need, I'm gonna put the red instead because The red is telling the reader, stop, breathe. One thing I want you guys to do is you guys can take out a different color. When you're done with your writing, I want you to kind of circle all of your sight words. So you guys are recognizing that you're using your sight words in your writing. We are going to circle. This is one sight word. Another sight word. This will be your first grade sight word. We, that'll be a first grade sight word. In, the. So we have quite a few of our sight words in there that are going to help you out. So keep practicing your sight words so that you're able to use them in your sentences to help. Our complete 3 sentences says, we can recycle paper. This will make art supplies that we can use in the classroom. All right. You guys have a wonderful day with it being Earth Day and, well, tomorrow, Wednesday. I want you guys to go outside, have fun, enjoy the beautiful earth. Remember to do it safely, okay? And remember to always wash your hands. Okay, bye, guys.